Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and we are going to continue talking about program design, specifically heavy light. One of the major faults that there is in program design, and people do not account for heavy light. Heavy light is an idea that we use to push training for extremely long periods of time. So what we are not talking about is a 10-week program, although this would definitely help in a 10-week program. What we are talking about is long-term training. This idea is going to apply to barbells, and it's going to apply to kettlebells, and it could definitely apply to dumbbells as well. It could even apply to sandbags, absolutely no problem. This idea carries through kind of the fundamental athletic things, very simply. In training, if we're thinking about our training and we're thinking about our deadlift, which is our swing, our clean and press, which is clean and press, our Turkish get up, which would probably be bench press, and our squat, which would be some version of a squat. We have this format, and we had a previous video on this, which is a 4-day format with our setup, with a day of rest in the middle of the week, and then recovery on each side. Let's get that snatch out of there for now. The reason I recommend people buy 3 weights is because eventually training goes much better if you have a heavy day and a light day. So I've gone through and I've added an L or an H to the board here so that people can see what I'm talking about. So swing light, high volume, swing heavy, low volume, clean and press heavy, low volume, clean and press light, high volume, squat heavy, squat light, Turkish get up heavy, Turkish get up light. This is an idea that comes specifically from barbell training and like deadlift training, where you would test your 1 rep max once a month, and then you would determine your 60 and 80%, and then you would have 60% days which would be light and 80% days which would be heavy. Because kettlebells do not micro load, which means you cannot specifically line up an absolute max, that has to be calculated based on volume. The easiest way to do it without calculating an absolute max on anything, because when you calculate a max on a deadlift, it's relatively safe. If you try to calculate a max on kettlebells, it would be relatively dangerous because the reps would be super high and you're basically swinging around a cannonball with a handle. So if you were to train to your max, that would mean you would fail. That would mean you would let go. That means that thing would fly out of your hand. And based on the weight, it would roll through whatever's in front of you or the wall or whatever. An easy way to do this is to pick a starting point, and then you determine your math based on that. So now we're adding volume and density cycles on top of training. But then if you want to make it really easy, then on your light day, you do high volume, and on your heavy day, you pick another weight of kettlebell that's heavier, and you do 50% to 80% of the volume. There's a lot of math that goes into this. It's way longer than I can say in a 10-minute video right now, but we will eventually get through all of this idea. But right now, what we're looking at is the idea of a light and a heavy on each day. There's no light, light, heavy, heavy. It's light, heavy, heavy, light, heavy, light, heavy, light. And you can flip those in any order, but the point is that one of them is hard each day, and one of them is easier each day. This goes back to our idea of trying not to lose training time. If we train heavy, heavy, heavy on everything every day of the week, then we very quickly burn out. If we burn out, we tend to get injured or we just don't want to train. If we don't want to train, we lose training days. So this is an idea specifically to get more training days out of the year than if we were just trained super heavy and intense for 10 weeks and then we didn't train the other 40 weeks. Did that get us what we wanted? Maybe at week 11 we looked really, really good, but we didn't build up any more skill for that next 40 weeks. The goal here is to keep us training, keep us out of injury, and keep us moving for more training days in total. If we have injury days, those injury days add up over the course of the year. And those injury days are days that we did not get to practice our technique, we did not get to practice our skill. You could apply this same idea to martial arts, gymnastics, or circus. Same idea works all the way through. You cannot train at 100% every day. If you say you're training at 100% every day, you're lying to yourself and to everybody else, because training from 100% every day means that you would have to take recovery afterwards. So what we want to do is try to figure out how to train at 60% and 80% so that we can live through training, so we can get more training over time. The way that I do this specifically is through volume training. We add more volume over the course of a long period of time so that people can develop their technique and get better. If we're trying to just crank out max weights all the time, it's not going to work. Kettlebells also don't let you pump out max weights all the time because you have to stabilize them. People who do absolute maximum lifting, you can do that on, say, like deadlift, and you can do it on a leg press just fine because you don't actually have to hold the bar in a leg press. But does that really work out in the long run? Your legs are super strong, but then you're so sore you can't move for 3 days afterwards. That's fine if your goal is to just look good, but it's not great if your goal is to actually have to athletically function. So this is something that we use a lot in movie training because we have to make sure that people are actually capable of doing their job, which is to show up on set and be ready for whatever it is that day. And we can push these things around based on whatever our personal schedule is. In the movie business, there is no off days for injury. The schedule is set way ahead of time, and injury is lost days, and each day could cost, $300,000 of insurance money. If you miss a day of training because you hurt somebody, that is generally extraordinarily unacceptable. So we have to make sure that we understand how to cycle so that that does not happen. And the way that we do that is by assigning light days, heavy days, writing programs for each one of these, a light day program and a heavy day program, a heavy day program and a light day program, and we stick to our math. Some days it's easy, some days it's hard. That's fine. Easy days are not bad. 60% days are what we are looking for if we want to get a lot of athletic development over a period of time. This has been Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica.